Welcome everyone to today's live digital marketing session. We are joined today by the fantastic Adé.
Hi everyone.
So Adé's joining us from the SEO team here at Exposure Ninja. So we occasionally do unleash them into the outside world to bamboozle with jargon. But he's had plenty of experience talking plain English as well. So don't worry, he's agreed to tone it down for us today. We'll see how it goes.
Stop me if I get too far, please.
Yeah, if it's too much, just hammer your keyboard, mash your keyboard, and whatever channel you're watching. Good stuff. So today is all about your 2021 SEO plan. Obviously, SEO in 2021 is a big priority for a lot of businesses, not least because ad costs continuing to increase as more businesses are kind of putting time and energy into paid media because they are locked down. So SEO is obviously a big priority. Let us know in the comments where you're listening from, where you're tuning in from. We've got a few sites that we want to analyze that have been submitted beforehand. If you want to submit your site as well, then you can drop it in the chat window on Facebook, LinkedIn, or YouTube. Just drop it in the chat window. But quick tip, if you're going to put it in, you might not be able to put your entire URL. You might have to put, say, so Mark has submitted rihanna.co.uk, and notice how he's written out .co.uk. He's done that so that YouTube doesn't flag him as a spammer and send him to a prison, right? So that's what you might have to do. So you can either just leave a space and then put .com, or just write .com. So we've got people from London, good stuff. I'm moving to your neck of the woods soon, down to Surrey. So yeah. Do with that information what you will. So we got some sites that we want to analyze the on-site stuff, analyze some off-site stuff, but also use this opportunity when we've got Adé to find out a bit more about what your priorities should be in 2021 and some big SEO change that is coming in 2021, which we all need to be prepped for, and it's a monster. Yeah, it's going to involve a lot of work, and it's fairly complex, but it's also, we think, fairly important. Good morning, Paul from Northern Scotland. Good stuff. Holmes Chapel. No idea where that is. Julian, hopefully it's lovely. I think I might have asked you that before. Anyway, Historic Edinburgh, just wanted to say I love your stuff, really helpful. We'll have to come back and watch this later, but thanks for your content. No worries. Well, you haven't seen it yet, so you don't know how good it is yet. So, but we hope it's going to be entertaining or informative. If we're really good, we may be able to touch on both. That is the goal. Cheshire, lovely. Good stuff. All right, let's get going. So, Adé, first of all, big picture. We're talking about what people's SEO plan should be for 2021. And I think with SEO, there are so many different areas that we can disappear into. We can look at technical optimization, we can look at website content, we can look at link strategy, we can look at blog stuff, we can look at like key page content. It can feel really overwhelming. For the sites that come into Exposure Ninja, where as an SEO do you start with them? Like, what are the first few things that you put in place, which you'd say, before you move on to anything else, get these basics sorted?
Thank you, Tim. When we get a client come in, we usually like to start with some keyword research. It's one of the easiest ways to understand a business, understand some of what we'll be trying to promote, some of the keywords we'll be trying to promote. It also helps to review what the on-site experience is like from a UX perspective. So we carry out an extensive UX audit to understand if there's anything that slows down the user's experience in finding out information that they want, or reaching that end goal that webmasters and businesses really want users to get to, like signing up for something or buying something. We also like to review the competition. In SEO, it's a competitive field where you're trying to outrank many different businesses for particular keywords and search queries that users type in. So those are some of the three initial things that we like to look at. And then once we review all of that, we look at the site from a technical perspective and try and figure out if there are any technical issues that slow down the performance of the site. Once we have a sort of an overall view of those first few areas, then we start to build a plan. It could be, in some cases, an initial plan could cover 3 months where we try to solve as many problems as we can, especially if some of the problems are very technical and maybe there are a lot of errors. We focus on that. In some other cases, we're able to build a longer term plan where we start to plan around content to improve how the site performs on Google and other search result pages.
You mentioned there keywords, Adé. Moya, saw your message. Adé's, your voice level is quite low compared to mine. I'm going to turn down mine so everyone else can turn up their volume.
Okay.
Right?
Okay. Yeah,
Low. I think it's just your husky tone.
Thank you. Thank you. I like that.
You mentioned keywords, and
Yeah.
I think people have been predicting the death of keywords since I started in SEO, but keywords still very much make up the kind of core of SEO that we do. Why do you think that is? And I've got a second question, which I'll save for afterwards.
Okay. Let me see. Do you mean the predicting the death of keywords in comparison to maybe voice search, for example? Do you want us to go there?
No. I mean, back in 2012 when I started SEO and we started EN, keywords were almost it was literal. It was all exact match, right? If you wanted to get ranked for dog-friendly holidays, dogfriendlyholidays.com, boom, there you go, off to the races. But obviously over time, Google has become much more sophisticated. It understands, RankBrain understands what people mean, not necessarily what they say, understands synonyms and that type of thing much better. So where are keywords going, and are they really still important, or is this just, something else that is kind of going to fall by the wayside as SEO moves on?
Fantastic question. Keywords are still very relevant. I imagine that they still will be relevant, hundreds of years from now, maybe, because the experience of looking at the content of what you're searching for is still very important. It's very different to voice search, for example. With voice search, for example, there are many different kinds of the range of content that you would search for with your voice is very small. Things like the weather, when is the next train coming, things of that nature. So maybe there's an aspect for that, and as things improve in terms of the algorithms, search algorithms, maybe that will become something that we get used to and start to use more often. In terms of keywords, yes, keywords are very, very important. Obviously, now, as you said, Google is still very intelligent, or is more intelligent than how it was back in the exact match days. So Google tries to fully understand what it is that you're typing, or even trying to predict what you're searching for, and understand what you're searching for with and the context of what you're searching, be it your location or the kind of device that you're using and things like that. So it's not going anywhere. Users still have queries and usually have questions, problems they like to solve, and they will still use search bars to type those questions in. The way that the search engines respond to those queries is what we try to anticipate, where we're able to deliver a solution via, with many of the businesses that we represent, where they are able to respond to the user's query. We don't want to show up for anyone that's not searching for the solution that any of our clients offer, because that doesn't help the experience of the user in solving their problem.
For me, there's a bit about keywords, which is, when you're talking to a great salesperson, and you go into the shop and you say, let's say that you're going to buy a kitchen, right? You go into the shop and you're going to buy a kitchen, and you say, I want white corner units, right? Whether or not that's the technical term for the thing that they're selling, a great salesperson will then use that phrase back at you to sell you the kitchen, right?
Absolutely.
Well, if you want great white corner units,
Yeah.
come have a look at these. Like, see how they're on the. So there's like a keyword. There's almost like a language matching thing, which is just part of salesmanship or salespersonship,
Absolutely.
and yeah, that's a valuable marketing tool. So even without, if Google stopped referring, if Google somehow managed to stop using language altogether to rank search results, then you would still want to understand keywords so that you could understand the language your customer is using and repeat that back to them in order to build rapport and to get the sale, I guess.
Yes. That's a great point. It's still keywords fundamentally are still the ways that in which we as users communicate with any search engine, whether it's a search engine that's built on an algorithm, or it's a salesperson in a store trying to interpret what the user is looking for. It's a bit different in terms of how things work in a store versus how things work in Google. In the store example you gave, the user's already on your website, so to speak. So essentially, you're on the website, and you're looking for a particular product which you believe they have. Being on Google is like being in the marketplace. Being in the entire world and being able to look for exactly, okay, I want to find this, floor tiles, kitchen tiles, kitchen cabinets, or what have you. And Google looks at your location and then pulls up the closest ones you can get to physically. And that's where it's still keywords, like you said. But that's one of the benefits of SEO. Like, you're able to attack the entire world and help so many more people access your products, solve their problems, and help people really.
I love that. I love that quote. One of the benefits of SEO is being able to attack the entire world.
Yes, attack the entire world.
2021. All right, cool. So we've talked about first step, always understanding the business. And even if you're the business owner or the marketing manager, you still have you obviously have an inherent understanding of your business that we do. Like, when Adé's researching a campaign, he doesn't need to, he needs to do that digging to understand it. You already understand it if you're the marketing manager internally for that business or you're the business owner. But there's still a level of understanding that you need around keywords. It's very common for us to talk to a business and say, what do people search for to find you? And then they give us an answer, and that turns out to be wrong, because they are talking industry terminology, they're talking whatever, but they're not talking customer language. So first step, understand, do that kind of background research, have a look at what people are actually looking for. And then you mentioned also, Adé, the kind of technical analysis of a website. This kind of leads us into the biggest hit, which we're all going to be facing at some point this year, in May 2021, which is Core Web Vitals. So, Adé, big picture, if you had to say in a sentence how important Core Web Vitals is, well, let's start. What is it? What is Core Web Vitals, this horrendous thing that's coming down the track to bite us all in the face?
Wow. I think some of the easiest ways to understand it is Google really wants your site to perform as best as it should. So if people can understand the motivation behind why Core Web Vitals, for example, think of Google as some kind of recommendation engine, which it is, obviously, but they don't want to present any solutions that are beyond that are subpar. So they want everything that that shows up on the results pages to be amazing. So they're putting more pressure on the websites, the businesses that rank on their pages, to do very well. So Core Web Vitals is not something that Google is trying to do to be mean. It's trying to do it to make sure that everybody can succeed. Google can succeed and businesses can succeed. In basic terms, Core Web Vitals is how a website performs, how it loads, how the user perceives the performance of the site, rather than how the site is supposed to perform in a perfect world, in a vacuum, so to speak. It focuses on how quickly your site loads, how quickly content comes on the screen, how quickly user interactions are carried out on the back end of the site for the user to notice it. So yeah, I think that's the easiest way to sort of put it without being too technical.
Yeah. So essentially what Google is doing is saying that in May 2021, Core Web Vitals is going to become a ranking factor. Now, what they haven't said is how important it's going to be or what's going to happen if you're not meeting Core Web Vitals standards. But Core Web Vitals kind of recommendation is that you need to be in the 75th percentile for 3 kind of page loading metrics, right? Which are first contentful paint, cumulative
Layout
shift,
first input delay.
Yeah, first input delay. Yeah. So these are technical terms for basically how quick does your page load. Adé, the terminology around this is confusing, and we've got a mixture of people that watch these from professional marketers to marketing managers to business owners. Core Web Vitals is not a plugin. Isn't fixing this, is it? This is more involved than what Google has required webmasters to do before to comply with page speed thresholds, I guess.
Yes. It's not for webmasters and marketing managers. We're all going to need help with this one. Technical help, developers to support the ideas that need to happen for Google to be happy with the Core Web Vitals. For example, with largest contentful paint, that might be one of the easiest ones to understand. I know it was easy for me to understand when I first started to delve into these new changes. So it describes largest contentful paint. Describes easy way to understand is what is the biggest thing, what's the biggest maybe image or text that loads on your site before everything else. So when a site is loading, for example, all the requests are made on the back end, the server starts to respond, and it gives you the text, maybe the main header on the top of the page, which we know as above the fold. And then maybe a hero image loads. Most of the time, the hero image could be the largest content, and then largest content for paint measures in a way how quickly that content takes to be loaded onto the browser, onto the user's browser. And usually it's like one of the first benchmarks of maybe the biggest content that needs to load before everything else starts to load. So yeah, maybe I'll stop there because I was about to say something more technical, but I'm not sure if I can hear you silently tapping your fingers like, I didn't slow down. But I'll say this.
I'm giving you a virtual cold shower. I've got my Adé voodoo. I'm giving him a cold shower.
Right.
Well, I think there's an important lesson with this is it's very difficult to talk about Core Web Vitals without getting technical. And we've got some content planned more specifically about helping you kind of get through this and navigate this. But this is something that we're anticipating for the majority of marketing managers and non-technical people. We're expecting development support to be required to comply with this. This is not like,
sure,
cookie bar. You can go and get a cookie bar plugin and whack it on your site, and boom, there you go. You're compliant with GDPR. This is requiring more. So just to give you some context about how we're handling it for our clients, we're getting our dev team and our SEO team to work together on this because this is beyond the technical requirements that we'd even give our SEO team. Folks like Adé, brilliant guy, but this is even beyond what we would expect him to be doing because this is getting into the code of the site. So yeah, it's not simple, but we think it's going to be important. So how I would think about this is it might be tempting to panic about this because this is something I don't really understand and I don't really have the capability to fix. And you're telling me that Google's going to think it's really important. That sounds scary. But here's the thing. I don't know about you, Adé, but my perception is that the percentage of sites which are going to comply with this by May 2021 is really freaking low.
I think it is.
It's more like a draining of the swamp, if you like, which actually gives, If you can comply as much as you possibly can, then it's going to give you an advantage against the majority of the world that doesn't even know this exists, let alone having the willingness or the ability to do anything about it. So overall, anything that hampers your competition as much as you is a good thing, because you're better than your competition. So this gives you a chance to kind of beat them. So yeah, we've got more content coming. I think we should move on and analyze some sites. We've got more content coming. We've got some videos and podcasts planned around Core Web Vitals with some more specifics. So you can fill your boots with that sort of stuff if you're interested, and you'll be delighted to know that we're involving the SEO team in that content as well. So yeah, it'll be good stuff. And Phil asked a great question. Is there a specific Core Web Vitals testing tool, or is it just PageSpeed Insights? There is a tool inside Search Console which will give you the bad news about how much your site is underperforming currently, and totally freak you out with the work that needs to be done. But the other thing is, don't worry, you are not alone. Your site is not the only one that will be falling foul of Core Web Vitals in its current state. Okay, really important to get that. Shall we have a look at some sites?
Let's do it.
Cool. So just going to share the old screen. How do I do this? Every time. It's like starting from scratch. Here we go. Okay, Raina, thank you for submitting that. We'll add that to our list as well. Okay, so first site we've got up on the chopping block today, Pets Pajamas. Targeting dog-friendly travel, dog-friendly holidays. Now, we're going to try and keep our recommendations and our stuff to SEO today. Obviously, there are user experiences an important component of SEO, but we're not going to look too much at conversion rate. However, just from first impressions on this site, one of my feelings, and feel free to let us know in the comments if you feel the same, but as I'm looking through this, the positioning of the dogs is so strong that I'm almost feeling like this is for people that the dog is a bigger priority for their holiday choice than they are. So whether or not that's the case, i.e., like this is all dogs, right? So you're planning a purely dog holiday, and that might be fine. That might be absolutely ideal, but we have to go quite far down the page before we see some like desirable holiday destinations. So I'd maybe think about the balance there and think about whether we still need to sell the joy of the holiday to the owner as well, and let them know that this isn't just like you're not just going to be going on holiday to a kennel. Essentially. So yeah, with that being said, Adé, this site I think is probably ranking for dog-friendly travel or dog-friendly or is trying to rank for dog-friendly travel, dog-friendly holidays. Dog-friendly travel as a used in both in the H1 here and also in the tagline there. What's your thoughts on that as a keyword, as we were talking about keywords earlier?
It looks like a good keyword. It may be more accurate to say dog-friendly hotels, dog-friendly locations, or even focus completely on holidays and let the dog part be secondary, as you said. But from some of the keywords that they seem to be ranking well for, they're doing well for dog-friendly hotels, dog-friendly holidays, and that can also be used in the meta. Let me take a look at the meta.
Yeah. Okay, that's a good shout. So for me, the dog-friendly travel almost feels like an informational keyword, because I don't think that's going to be the sort of thing that if I'm looking to go on holiday with my dog, I might search dog-friendly travel, but I'm doing that as part of my research about how to travel with a dog, not as I'm looking for a holiday destination.
Yes.
Yeah, Mark says I'd look for dog-friendly holidays. Agreed. So you kind of mentioned there some of the keywords that they're ranking for. Let's just let's grab them up in SEMrush. And I think the good news for this site is that they are doing pretty well, aren't they, for some of these target phrases. Yeah, dog-friendly hotels, position 2. So, I mean, it feels like one potential recommendation would be just looking at the language that we're using above, you know, if we're ranking position 2 for dog-friendly hotels, you
That's
know,
the one.
let's have a crack at that. Dog-friendly holidays. Let's just
Yeah.
try one of those. You know, the difference between position 2, position 1 might not be a huge amount. So, yeah, let's have a play with that. Okay. When you're looking through the keywords that they're ranking for, Adé, any observations, any things that you're thinking, and feel free if you're watching this as you're looking through these keywords that are showing up here. By the way, if you're new to the SEMrush chart, what you're looking at is the keyword it's ranking for, the position on Google down here. So position 1 is obviously top of Google. Position 3 will be 3rd on page 1. Position 7, 7th on page 1, and so on. Then we've got search volume, so approximately how many times these are searched per month. And the other thing that might be interesting is the cost per click. So this is how much advertisers are willing to pay to advertise for these phrases, which can often be a sign of commercial intent, also competition. Typically, if people are willing to spend a lot of money to advertise for a phrase, then it's because there's money involved. When you're looking through these keywords, Adé, what are you thinking? What are your thoughts?
They have quite a few keywords. Let's see. Wait, let me look at your screen instead. Actually,
You can full screen StreamYard.
yes, yes. I can see it. Dog holidays UK, dog friendly cottages. Lots of pet specific searches.
Yeah, the thing that I'm wondering, like, it looks to me like a lot of these keywords. Let's see if there's another version of dog friendly cottages which is ranking. But if we look at the URLs down here, can't really see it too well because my screen's on big mode for this webinar. But a lot of the keywords, dog friendly cottages that they're ranking for, which is 33,100 searches per month. So that's a decent one to be targeting. But it's the homepage that's ranking for that.
Not any particular page ranking for that. So it's clear that they may need to create some specific content to respond to that kind of volume and respond to the users that are searching for that specific keyword. It seems like it's what everybody's searching for. I mean, 33,000 is the biggest I've seen. I mean, I'm looking at some other keywords that are not too relevant, ranking higher than 33,000.
So, Adé, why is the fact that the homepage is having to do the heavy lifting for something like dog-friendly cottages? Why is that an issue? And if someone's looking at their ranking chart and they're seeing that their homepage is ranking for a lot of these phrases, they might be thinking, "Great, that's where I want people to come into my site from." Why would that potentially be a bit of a red flag for us when we're analyzing a site?
Well, sometimes it can increase the amount of steps the user has to take from your homepage to the particular solution that you provide. For example, if it's a maze to navigate, you might want to take users more directly to the page that covers their query. It's also possible that your homepage is competing for too many keywords and might make it more difficult for that keyword to do better or rank on page 1 or the top of page 1, rather than potentially doing ranking on page 2. You can have a particular keyword with content created just for that keyword, so that if users log in, search for that keyword to solve whatever problem it is that they're looking for. In this case, is dog-friendly holidays, dog-friendly hotels. They will get to exactly the page that serves that need, rather than seeing every single service that you provide around location, dog-friendly cottages, dog-friendly houses, dog-friendly spaces, so to speak. Does that?
Yeah, it's basically, it's almost like if Team GB, if the heptathlete was the best Team GB athlete that we had for the 100 meters, something would be up, right? Because they're not specialist. You'd think that a specialist 100-meter runner would be able to run the 100 meters faster than the heptathlete, because the heptathlete is doing loads of work across loads of different disciplines. And it's a bit like that. So if you see that, That's a terrible analogy. I wish I hadn't even gone there. But, you know, your homepage is having to rank for loads of different phrases. If a specific targeted page, specialist to that term, isn't beating it, then something up with that page, isn't there? There's something going on here. So looking at this page that we've got that probably should be ranking for dog-friendly cottages. What are your thoughts here, Adé? What are some of the reasons that we might look at as to why this page isn't pulling its weight?
It needs, yes, it needs a lot more content, a little bit more content to explain and to communicate the benefits or the idea of dog-friendly cottages so it can perform better on search engines. One way to do that, it's a balancing act on a page like this, because you want to be able to deliver the solutions, the products, which in this case are the different hotels and the different prices, without giving too much content. So one example here is to add a function where a user can perhaps read more about a particular subject or a particular, in this case, dog-friendly cottages. They can understand more about the different things that are on offer, and they can start to look at the products without having to scroll down too far. So the read more would be like a link that's built into the page to click read more. It drops down a little bit better, and you are able to see more content, and that content does well in terms of ranking. Aspects of how quickly a site performs this function can be traced back to things like cumulative layout shift that we were talking about earlier. And you want your server, for example, to be highly responsive, to be able to make sure that when a user clicks something and they expect something to happen, like a shift in the content, that happens very quickly for the user to receive that shift without any delays. But yes, a little bit more content. I'm looking at it has one instance of dog-friendly cottages. What are you thinking?
Well, I was going to say, if I'm searching for dog-friendly cottages, there's a few. Oh yeah, I see what you mean. We're not using that phrase too many times, but the other question I'd have is, this is almost like an e-commerce product category page, which is just showing products. So at the moment, this is just showing individual holiday cottages, and yes, it's ordered by popular, but location is a massive variable, right? I would be wondering about maybe playing with the layout of this page to start with information about dog-friendly cottages. As Adé said, you could have like an index, or you could have, read more or something like that to give a bit of information, almost like a buyer's guide to dog-friendly cottages. Then I'd think about subcategorizing this to be by location. So I think you've actually got, there's lots of different filters that people can use, but probably popular regions is likely to be the first filter that most people would use. So I'd think about maybe adding that at the top of the page, because the other thing that might be happening is Google might have tested this as a page that ranks for dog-friendly cottages, seen that engagement isn't great, because as soon as I go on it, I can only see one cottage above the fold. If I don't like the look of that, am I going to stay? Maybe I will, maybe I won't. So there could have been some user engagement feedback that came as a result of the layout of this page. So I'd have a play with that. I think probably this this kind of categorization that you've got in the menu is a good place to experiment, and there's a reason you've got those categories there. So I'd think about showing those as like category buckets at the top of the page. Then you could have some individual listings there as well, but it's likely that, as Adé said, you're forcing people to go through quite a lot of work before they can see some results that are suitable for them. So I'd think about how you can get people to the cottages that are right for them as quickly as possible. Yeah, okay. Let's look. So I think, Adé, do you want to talk through what you're looking at in Screaming Frog when you're analyzing a site like this? Or is this, or what I don't want to do is just cover everyone in SEO juice. And there's a chance we might do that. Okay. So maybe let's not go there. Norvin's asked a great question. Would linking this page to blog video content also help this fix this issue to ensure that users are sent directly to the relevant page? Yes, potentially, Norvin. That will be one way of doing it. So in other words, you have lots of blog video content on the site, which is about, buyer's guides to video cottages, lists of best dog-friendly cottages in Lake District, in the New Forest or whatever, so you can target those deeper terms. And those might be information pages, which then link back to specific products or specific things that you've got on the site. That could be one way of doing it, yeah. It depends. I think let's have a look at this. And I know this is very specific to this site, but there's an important thing for everyone here, which is the intent of a search and what you're going up against and what sort of content you need to present to Google in order to kind of win that battle. So let's have a look at these. Firstly, Adé, page titles matters.
Okay, I'm looking at your screen now.
My screen. Let me get SEO juice. Sounds kinky, Phil. It's not as kinky as it sounds. The staining is awful. Yeah. Okay. So page titles and metas. Well, we can see that dog-friendly cottages is a competitive term. We've got sites that are dog-friendly cottages.co.uk. Maybe that's ranking from the EMD days. Who knows? But yeah, they're going in with dog-friendly cottages as the primary keyword in the page title, which is an indication that this is a competitive term. And if we're going to want to win for this, we need to go in all guns blazing. So it's probably you're going to have to have a dedicated page ranking for this. It's interesting that the sites in the top few positions are all either completely about cottages, so they're not about hotels, or they are dedicated dog pet-friendly cottage pages rather than being just a general page. And in fact, I think what we'll probably find is that actually Pets Pajamas is the first site that isn't specifically targeting cottages.
Yes. So it's more about the pets than the cottages.
Yeah, but also this, that homepage targets hotels and holidays and cottages is just one of the product categories they sell. So this is massive potential. That page isn't even massively optimized for this phrase, and you're still ranking page one against much more specialist competitors. Let's have a look at some of these sites and see how they're handling it. Now, dog-friendly cottages, they're going to have an advantage because that's the business name, and you can see actually Google has decided to show a kind of expanded, business listing here, thinking that this could actually be a branded search term, which is a hell of a coup to pull off if you're that business. And yeah, shows the benefits of exact match business names even in 2021.
Still relevant somewhat.
What's that, sorry?
Exact match is still important in some cases.
Absolutely.
Like that.
So they're going to have to be working a little less hard for this because it is the business name and because it is the brand name. But this is what you're up against. And you can see this is a quite heavy content page, isn't it? We don't actually have any cottage listings. Let's have a look at Sykes and see what they're doing here. Okay. So they actually don't have a huge amount of info above the fold here. We've got some filters, which I don't know about you, mate, but I think the positioning of those is horrible. The layout and everything is awful.
It looks like a lot. There's a lot of information. The filters, I'm not sure if they're functioning as filters rather than quick links.
Oh, I see what you mean. Yeah, so these just links. They're just links to category pages, aren't they?
There's also no content on this particular category page.
Oh, we got this stuff at the bottom here. A bit more at the bottom. So, all right, let's address this head on because a lot of e-commerce businesses watch this. Here we are in 2021, still stuffing e-commerce category pages full of content. And yes, we can say that people are landing on this page and some of them want information, but really, all of this is just here for SEO, surely. Surely.
You don't have to hide from that fact. You don't have to be ashamed. This is how it is.
Yeah.
But it does help to figure out a balance between how to add content on your category page for it to rank versus where to put it, and how to be kind to the user. It's if you're looking at a category page, it really helps for content to be where the user's likely to see it before they dive into all the products. So going back to that whole idea of just giving them enough, giving them the option to read more about something. Maybe if you want to expand even more on a particular subject on a category page, you link to a blog about the subject where they can read more, have a fuller understanding, and then you give them a link to come back to the grid, so to speak, where the products are. Even though you never really want to direct users away from the page where they're about to, buy something. But it's a delicate balance between some people that want more information. You can also sort of be considerate about what your product is. If it's a very expensive product, then users want a lot more information about that. If it's something very simple, then you don't have to, tell them, write a thesis about it or anything. But it's a delicate balance, especially on category pages.
It is indeed. It is indeed. It's a delicate, but it's a game that we all have to play, even though it seems ludicrous. I suppose one of the other considerations about this page is that if we think about conversions for a second, what sites have done really well is they've positioned themselves very strongly, and then they've just given a call to action straight away. So this is above the fold call to action, and this is almost doing the job of that kind of categorization that we talked about earlier, where it's very easy to fill these in. You don't even need to type anything if you don't want. You just click, and then here we go. We're just going through, and it's very, very straightforward. So it could be that the engagement on this page is so high that they're not having to work as hard as maybe, let's say that this site wasn't called Dog Friendly Cottages. It might not be ranking as well as it is, and it might have to work a lot harder with content if it was to maintain that ranking. Whereas something like this, if you've got really good engagement and Google's looking at how people are using the site and it can see they're going through and having a great time, then yeah, you're going to get oversized reward for it. Okay, let's move on and take a look at another site. So I want us to keep on going. So we've had some sites submitted. This one was just submitted, Mythology Clothing. And I think the person said they want to get it ranking for what do we want to get it this ranking for? Anything? Just top. Just want to get it ranking top. Okay. Well, first lesson there immediately is top for what? So we want to get this ranking the top of Google, but
what keyword? What's
what are people searching for? Which game do you want to win? And at the moment, that's totally unclear. If we have a look at page title, Mythology Clothing. So the phrase that we're targeting is Mythology Clothing.
Clothing, that's brand.
It's your brand. If you're not showing up for that, then there's some technical issue with the site. So that's not the thing that we want to rank for. What we probably want to understand first is what are your target audience looking for when they're looking for clothing? Is this fitness clothing? Is it muscle fit hoodies? Is it whatever, somebody alternatives? Is it, something like that? Is it gym wear? Is it athleisure wear? Is it? But what I'd say for a site like this, which clearly there's not an established SEO, there's not an established SEO strategy, is pick some battles that you can win. Adé, if you're doing keyword research for a site like this, how competitive a term or how competitive sorts of terms would you be suggesting that they target? I mean, they're not going to be going for hoodies, right? Like how far down that from like hoodies to gym, athletic, muscle fit hoodies, there's a broad spectrum of different keywords from being very broad to being extremely targeted. How targeted do people know how to go? That's a really difficult question to answer, so good luck.
Yeah, it's a tricky one. This is quite a competitive market, fashion. So my initial question or thought when you were scrolling through was, what is the one thing that you do better than your competition? What is it? I see the model in quite some nice athletic fit hoodies. So that could be one of the things that you try to identify the users. What are users searching for that will make them potentially find your site? Are we talking, I was thinking about a fabric. That's just no. I'm not going there. let's not deal with fabric like cotton or flannel or anything like that. Is it the materials? Is it how it's made? Is it if we're thinking about coffee, we're thinking fair trade? What's the one aspect, unique selling proposition, so to speak, that USP that makes you different from like ASOS or some of the guys that rank even higher for some keywords. So yeah, you've gone straight for big muscle fit hoodies. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, so what we're seeing from this is that even best muscle fit hoodies is too broad for you. You're not going to compete against River Island and what's going on with my Google. You're not going to compete against River Island and brands like ASOS and Amazon and stuff that's showing up for that. So we need to go even more specific.
More specific.
So I'd even think I don't know. I wouldn't even know really where to go with this, but
it would really help for the marketing team or the business to identify what it is that they do very well, and what they really want to be known for, what they feel they do better, what's in their processes, and we can find those users with specific keywords. Right now, it's hard for us to kind of pick out from thin air, because what we're looking at so far is hats, shirts, hoodies. I mean, from the website, is there anything that they say about how good their hoodies are?
There's almost no content on this page at all. No. So yeah, I mean, there's another lesson there for your product pages. I think the model that you've got in the images is great because he immediately communicates who your target audience is, and I totally get it. And I think it's a great space to be in. But for me, until you understand the patterns and the user behavior, then SEO wouldn't even be the channel I'd go for here. I'd probably go for something more along the lines of Facebook, probably Instagram ads is going to be one, and doing a bit of influencer marketing. You may already be doing this, but I mean, it's a great look. He looks really good. And I think the product imagery, whilst yes, it could be improved, actually, I think this is probably good enough to use in some ads. So I'd consider whether running some ads would be a good kind of first step. But then some of the things that you can do, like just talk to your customers, like send them a message. We're improving our website, guys. Like if you were searching for these sorts of products, what would you be looking for? Just ask them directly, because keyword research is great and keyword research gives us the data, but you want to find out what your best customers are searching for. And then when you look in SEMrush for it, you might find that there's almost no search volume at all. That's absolutely fine. I wouldn't be put off by that at all. So you're going to have to start pretty niche to get some traction with that. And then over time, you can broaden out. If you look at Gymshark's SEO strategy, starting off by targeting really kind of niche terms, and now they're ranking for stuff like leggings. But they didn't start off by targeting leggings. They started off by targeting, workout leggings or, booty accentuating leggings or whatever those kind of niche terms were. And then they broadened out. So I think that's something to consider. But yeah, I think it's a very new website. Even if you type mythology clothing in Google, this website does not show up. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I typed mythology hoodies and nothing showed up either. So
I mean,
at the very
least, not enough content on this site for Google to really justify ranking it. Yeah. Product looks good though. I think you've done the hard part. This digital marketing piece can feel overwhelming, but in some ways it's the easier thing because you've got a target audience, you've got a product, you've got a brand, which I think could really resonate. So I think there's loads of potential here. I wouldn't be put off by it at all. It's just this SEO piece it requires some deeper initial thought.
Clearly a great product with quite a few people looking for things like this. You just need to find out what they're looking for and use that to build content so your website can rank. It's just
Yeah, the other thing I consider maybe Pinterest, and I know that the demographic isn't like pure Pinterest audience, but I'd think about Pinterest. It doesn't have to be your own Pinterest channels. I'd consider finding people who, there's so many men's fitness style guides and stuff like that, and influencers who are on Pinterest who have, really, they're probably bloggers, and it's their Pinterest pins that are ranking for this type of stuff. So consider working with them, sending them out some product to review and see if they want to include it in their stuff as well. I think SEO might be a kind of next step thing. Once you're generating consistent sales through social, that would be my recommendation there. Okay. let's move on. Let's have a look at rihanna.co.uk for pet portraits. Let's have a look at this one here. Okay, so I'm guessing this is built mobile first.
Oh, okay.
Because I'm not sure that that layout is working too well on desktop. All right. What we saying, Adé? What are you thinking?
Still trying to load this out actually. Okay.
Okay, first up, page title, rihanna.co.uk, just another WordPress site. That's your page title. That's not good. So, yeah, we've got some videos on page titles and meta descriptions. I'd check those out on the Explosion Ninja YouTube channel. First, I don't want to go, we don't need to go too much into that, but obviously page title is really important, absolute basics. So make sure every page title is properly optimized.
Pet portraits.
Let's have a look at what's ranking for pet portraits and see what we're competing against. Because, competitor analysis, you don't want to become obsessed by your competitors, but there is a lot to learn because you can see what's already winning. The great news is with SEO, it's all out in the open. So first thing, probably not pet portraits.
Right.
That's probably not the phrase that you're targeting if you're up against Etsy and stuff
Etsy comes up. Etsy comes up. Crown and Paw.
Yeah, so that's a
What they look like.
e-com, isn't it, with that URL?
Okay, Crown and Paw has a product page for pet portraits. No.
I mean, one thing that you could do, we spoke in the previous session or the previous example about breaking down your keywords, and maybe pet portraits might be a 2-3 year target for you. So step one might be, what are the most common dogs that people are sending us to draw portraits for? Can we build pictures for whatever, a dog type? We're looking at Cavapoos, right? Cavapoo pet portraits, or Cavapoo drawing, or Cavapoo artist, or something like that, right? So I'd maybe consider, before you go after pet portraits, which is a long-term thing, if you can rank page 1 for Cavapoo portraits, you're going to get more sales than you would ranking page 200 for pet portraits. And that might be about where you're probably, where you're sitting with this stuff. So we'd always suggest going for games that you can win, even if the search volume is much lower. Because if you can rank number 1 for Cavapoo portraits and then Cavapoos blow up to become the next whatever, then you're in a pretty good place. So I'd consider targeting different breeds as a way of kind of getting some early traction with this. Anything you're thinking, Adé? Let's have a look at some of these.
I'm not sure. I think I was expecting there to be more images above the fold. Drawings. Is it just me, or do I interpret portrait differently to drawing? Because I think this is about drawing versus just pictures or camera work.
That's interesting. Yeah, I'd agree
I'm not
there.
sure
What do we think?
Sorry.
If attendees, people watching, if you were searching for this, what would you search for? Portraits, drawings? Let us know. We're doing live keyword research here.
We should do this more often, actually. This is...
Yeah. Crowdsource the keyword research. Love it.
Right? This is exactly how you do it.
Yeah, totally. Oh, interesting. We've got... Okay. I'm not sure people care about this.
Faber-Castell. I'm a big fan of Faber-Castell tools. Pencils, they can be expensive, but I get the, a drawing board. I fully get that.
Stephanie on Facebook says she would have said illustrations. Okay, good shout.
Illustrations, yes.
All right.
Yeah.
Either way, I'm thinking something slightly different here, Mark. I'm thinking, imagine that you, right? Because what we're seeing competition-wise, this type of stuff. There's a big part of me that says they've just stuck a photo in Photoshop and they've applied a filter to this. And there's loads of this going around. You see it all over Instagram. Great ads, brilliant business to be in, absolutely awesome. But it's a very different thing. It's a completely different thing. And what I want you to do is seriously differentiate yourself from this. So that is probably, I think Adé's right, that is probably a pet portrait. Julian says pet portraits, cat portraits. Okay, cool. That might be a pet portrait. Let's target something that's a bit more human, right? You're a
That the
pet.
user understands.
What's that, sorry?
Something that the user understands. I wouldn't really think pet portrait first, maybe because I'm not too much of a pet person. In terms of portrait, to me, I'm thinking images, I'm thinking iPhone, I'm thinking portrait mode, technically.
Yeah.
But if you have a pet and you want to have an illustration done for that pet, what would you type to search for someone that's going to do that for you? What would you type in? Would it be a pet portrait, or would it be pet drawing? Would it be dog drawing? Would it be cat drawing? Would it be, what would it be? Illustration? Would you think pencil? Would you think pen? Would you think the kind of tools that are used to draw? Because I saw a few tools at the bottom. I wasn't sure if those are okay. There's materials used, right?
It's a bit weird. Yeah, it feels a bit weird. So I'd agree. I think completely rethink the layout of this page. So firstly, pet portrait is probably too broad. You probably want to, and then above the fold, I think we need to immediately establish what is going on here. This isn't no Photoshop filter rubbish. This is someone sitting at an easel drawing. Right, so let's get that established. If your name's Rihanna and you love to draw portraits of your beloved pets, let's get a picture or even a little GIF video of Rihanna. She's got the picture of the poodle. Yeah, she's drawing it, and you can see the before. You can see what she's copying. You can see how good it is.
Absolutely, that's perfect, Tim. Actually, that sells itself.
And then you're buying into the artisan side as well, aren't you? You're much more bought in, because you're not gonna, if someone's searching for something that looks exactly like their pet, and they just want one of those, your dog as a French Duke or something, you're not going to compete. You want the people that want a piece of art on their wall, not some like gimmicky, more quirky thing. So yeah. Go more niche. Adé's right. Go more niche. Charcoal drawings of dogs. Like, yes, there's probably a search volume of 15 or something for that, but I'd rather rank number 1 for charcoal drawing of dogs, where everyone who's searching for that is a great potential customer, than rank position 980 for pet portraits, where people are looking for the 20 quid thing that they've just seen on Instagram.
Yeah.
Definitely says one thing. I find that menu font really hard to read. Yeah. Defo. Seriously, yeah. Think about that. Hand-drawn cat portraits. Hand-drawn, great modifier to add. It's going to massively reduce the search volume, but again, that is your vibe. That is your vibe.
The key. That's what we're looking for, actually.
Yeah, that's what we're looking for. Right, great. Okay, we've got to wrap up here. Thanks for everyone for tuning in. Sorry we didn't get to all of the sites. I hope this has been useful. Adé, thank you so much for joining us, buddy. Your wisdom and your plain English is...
I tried with the plain English.
For SEOs, English is a second language. SEO is the primary language. English is the second language. So we appreciate your efforts. Much appreciated. So stay tuned to the Exposure Ninja YouTube channel. If you're not following us yet, go and subscribe to the channel, because we've got more stuff coming out about Core Web Vitals, where we're going to go a bit more in depth with it and help you as much as we can get through this. We're also going to be offering some Core Web Vitals packages to help businesses with this stuff as well, because it's not easy, and it's a bit of it could be a bit annoying if we're not thinking about it positively, but it's a great thing, so it's going to bury a lot of our competitors, hopefully. So yeah, great. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. We will see you next Friday. Next Friday, we're going to be joined by Abby from the email marketing team here at Exposure Ninja. So we're going to be talking all about email marketing. It's going to be a killer session. So when I email out, drop any questions that you have about email marketing that you want Abby to answer. We might even take you behind the Exposure Ninja email marketing thing as well, so you can see the wiring mess in there. Yes, stay safe, as Julian says. See you next Friday.
Bye.